All right, today's date, this date is the 29th of May, 2025, 29 May, 2025. And it's a Thursday, and the name of this video is Are Overachievers Unsympathetic Toward Others? Okay, so I want to get into this real quick because I have a friend of mine that he's kind of in a desperate situation. He needs he's doing work for people, and he manifests trade skills that he has, and there's a couple people that he's gone out to help, and both of these people who he helps are overachievers. They're people that also work in the trades or have had some good fortune. And the thing that I told him, and he's a younger man, he's 30 years old. I told him I'm 54. We have this argument all the time about wisdom. He thinks that a person who's my age can be just as, or a person his age can be just as wise. And I says, yes and no. You can be technically smarter, but you don't have the experience of life when you go through life and deal with the public and deal with people. And I had my sister tell me this years ago. And by the way, I see myself in the reflection here. I can see myself. So I'm always looking at the camera. I guess I should. So, he was talking to me about, this one guy that he's done some work for, and the guy's an auto mechanic. Okay, the guy's got a lot of money. He's got a good job, and he makes money on the side. So he's got lots of nice things. He's got tons and tons of vehicles on his property, stuff he's fixing, stuff he's not fixing, and he feels like he's getting the short end of the stick in this thing, but he doesn't tell the guy this because the guy blows him off and and I said to him, I said, this guy, and I've met him a couple times, he's really got his act together. I mean, like, I said, I don't know too many people. This guy's about around my age, maybe a couple years younger. And I said, the guy's got his act together. He's got a lot of money, but I don't know what the guy's worth, but I'm going to estimate he's probably got about $2 million in liquid funds in addition to his property, or 1.5 million. He's probably got a good chunk of change. And I could be, like I said, I could be wrong, but based on what I see, the type of hobbies that he has, the mechanical hobbies he has, he does on a lot of stuff that leads me to believe that he's just not, it isn't like he's got some extra small 20-foot boat in his yard. He's got some big shit, big moving equipment. I mean, he's got money. I think he does anyway. So he's an overachiever, and I've said this to him. All right, I said this to my young pupil here, the guy that I'm talking about. I said, he did all this work for this overachiever guy of his, and he says, like, I've done all this work for him, and I'm hoping it pays off. He's going to help me work on my vehicle and do all this stuff, and I says, I can kind of get the impression the guy's playing you, and it just, the reason I get the impression is because he's already worked on his vehicle at this guy's place, and the guy doesn't really reciprocate as much. He's helped him out. I shouldn't say he hasn't helped him, but what my buddy did was he like did weeks of work for this guy at his other property, and he did some plumbing work. Okay, and it was a lot of work. And in fact, he was trying to get me over there. My young pupil friend, he was trying to get me over there. Well, why don't you come out and help so and so, help us with this too? I says, I don't, I would have had to drive like, I don't know, 40, 50 miles. And it was like, I just said, no, I don't want to do it. I already promised to do it. And then I said, no, I backed out. I said, I don't want to do it because the thing was, is I see this guy that's in question is taking advantage of him. And I know he's an overachiever. He's like, well, so and so works, the reason why he's so successful is he works hard. And it's true. I talked about this in a 1 minute snippet I did. Just because somebody works hard doesn't mean they're not intelligent. A lot of intelligent people, a lot of talented people who have an aptitude for something work hard. They work hard because they know they got the skills to do it. They look at something, they know they can fix it, they know they can turn a piece of crap into gold, so they work hard at maintaining that. And this is where people get this impression that hardworking people are the only difference between a hardworking person and a lazy person is the hardworking person works hard, so therefore they succeed. And where I believe that some people by their nature are just driven and have an aptitude for something, and they're good at what they do. You see these TV shows all the time where they're like those shows, Orange County Choppers. Okay, the father is a genius. He's kind of an asshole, but he's a genius with motorcycles, and he can tear them apart and rechrome them and finish them or do all this stuff. These are people that have extraordinary talents. And of course, they make a TV show like it's just a hardworking guy and with a big mustache, and anybody can do that. Well, we all know that that's not the case. Most people can't do that. I know I can't do that, and I don't think at this age I would ever be able to learn to do what these people do. And it's like overachievers, because they're good at what they do. They tend to exploit people. I mean, they will take advantage of you, and I mean, it's really kind of, they don't really want to share. What comes to them comes easy, and they see everybody as just kind of something external. It's kind of like a form of solipsism. Like if I can see, what really bothers me about it is that if I, at my age of 54, I don't want to take advantage of some young kid and screw him over, because I feel like I'm not handing off the baton to him. Like if I, for example, had some young kid come on, knock on my door and say, "I'll cut your lawn for $12." I don't think I would let him work for that cheap, for the simple fact that the amount of work that it would take to do my yard isn't fair to him to pay him $12 when it's more like a $40-50 job if he can do it. And that's me. That's me being that way. That's not. And then what I find out is that a lot of these people who are older, just they think of a young man trying to find his way in the world, or I guess in some cases young woman. They just find them something to exploit. So this guy has had this guy do a lot of work for him. This or he's been doing a lot of work for this guy. That's the overachiever. That's the auto mechanic slash. He's got other talents too. He does a lot of things. And I just told him, I said, look, you need to just pull the plug and say no. Well, no, I can't do that yet. I got too much tied up. And if I help him a little longer, he'll eventually help me reinstall this thing and put a brand new motor in this car. And I think that's a big job. I don't think the guy would do it. He might do it. I don't. But then he's got another guy that's been taking advantage of him too. He's got this guy that owns a business. He's been doing this work for this guy that owns a beverage business. And the guy fell on good times. He was able to buy this beverage business for a song. So now he's volunteering his carpentry labor skills. And the guy's real funny because he runs like a hillbilly bar out of his beverage business, a little hillbilly bar there. And my buddy's had a few drinks there, and the guy always charges them. He charges them full price. But yet my buddy, when he does work, or my young pupil friend, he does free work for this guy, or not free work, but he does work, and then the guy just blows him off and says, well, I'll pay you in a week, I'll pay you in a month, whatever. So he's got the money to pay him, but he don't want to pay him. But I said, if I were that beverage owner guy, this is just me, I would give the guy free beer, because the guy doesn't drink a lot anyways. And you'd be surprised how many free favors you'd get out of giving a few free beers. But apparently the guy doesn't see it that way. In fact, I was shocked to learn one time I was over helping him out, and the guy comes out and says, "Hey, is so and so here? He owes me. He's got a bar tab open. It was like 2 beers. This guy's real frugal with his money. He's a real asshole, in my opinion. He is." And I've learned that some people that are overachievers, or whether they're just very fortunate to earn something or find something, they tend to just exploit other people. And you have to lay it down. You have to lay the law down with these types of people. You can't invest too much time with a person that potentially is going to waste your time. And well, I'll just help him out and do some more work for him, and eventually he'll pay it forward. They'll never pay it forward. And overachievers have no empathy for people. I went back to college several years ago, in my 30s, and I ponder this was the biggest mistake I ever made. Don't try to ever go back to college in your 30s unless somebody pays for it. If your company pays for it or something, it's a waste of time. You're never going to be accepted in your 30s back in college. It's a real nightmare. So, I remember just looking at this situation. I'm thinking, yeah, but when you're around people, like I was around students that were really overachievers at math and science, they don't have time for you. You're pretty much passed up. It's like a um, your people see you as a burden to them. Overachievers are tend. My sister told me this years ago. She says overachievers tend to be very unsympathetic toward people that are not as fortunate. And there are some people that are, and I imagine there are some people that do charity work that have very good skills and maybe they're talented and they do help other people out and stuff. But as a general rule, I tend to lean in the direction that it's bad. Life is bad enough that we have these corporate elites running the world and making our lives fucking miserable. The housing market is a disaster for most people. And this is another thing. My pupil friend of mine, he's also in the process of getting a house right now, and he's going to be up to his shirt in debt when he buys this house because I told him the taxes alone are going to kill you. And he's like he was going forward with this. He really believes it's like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. I think that in this day and age, there's got to be other options. And I'll tell you something. I'm going to do videos on this because you guys have heard me talk on my videos about the whole dating scene and what's wrong with it and everything and what's going on. But there's more to it than just the dating scene. There's survival skills that we have men have to help each other out with because surviving is in the years to come is going to be very, very difficult for most men, and and being an isolated unit is going to make it even tougher. I don't think men are going to come together and have these little MGTOW communities where all men, these celibate MGTOW communities that would have happened years ago if it was going to happen. I think you're pretty much it's a race to the bottom and you're on your own. And so you're going to run into these people, getting back to my main topic here, is that they're going to take advantage of you. And they're because they're overachievers, they're going to say, oh, well, hey, well, look, Fred, I cut lawn, or I'm really good at HVAC. I figured if I help you out, maybe you could help me with building laying my concrete driveway. Well, then you wind up doing that, and Joe doesn't want to, Fred or whatever doesn't want to help you. And because everything comes easy to some people. And, this Ayn Rand shit, this Ayn Rand, you owe the world nothing, is to me, is bullshit. This idea that like everybody is their own island, and if you're good at something, you should say screw everybody else and everybody else. I guess you can get away with it for a while, but don't expect people who are less than you to just do you favors. These people that are overachievers, I'll tell you this, they're always depending on weaker people. Just like people with a moral, or people with a nefarious agenda always depend on more moral people with morals to do their dirty work or help them do their dirty work. They're always depending on other people because that's just how it works. And so you have to spot that. You have to be older. You have to get older and spot these people. If they're overachievers, if they're capable of doing things that come very easy to them, they're probably going to exploit you for whatever they can get out of you. Because after all, they still need you. They're not completely independent. They're not James Bond and they're an expert on everything. And you have to spot these people and just tell them, look, I'm sorry. You're better off just not helping them out at all because you're probably never going to get in return what you think you're going to get out of it. And I hate to tell these younger guys this because they're giving me this motivational crap of you just need to listen to this guy. And I went through my whole stage of the self-help bullshit years ago, back in my late teens through my 20s, even early 30s. I bought a bunch of self-help shit off of eBay one time years ago. And it was all like recycled use shit. It was or stuff that had been used and it cost me a nickel practically or something cheap. But you come to realize that all this self-help nonsense, it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change your personality. It tells you what's wrong with you, but it really does. And it tells you what's wrong with people around you, but it really doesn't change anything. And so if you're being exploited by somebody, and part of it is because this person's an overachiever and things come easy to them, you don't owe it to them to give them anything. And they may write around and say, well, I'm an overachiever and I don't owe you anything either, as I've read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, and she said that nobody owes anybody anything. Okay, great, Ayn Rand. And by the way, she's the one who went out there and took welfare from the state on her when she was on her last couple years of living of her. I guess she took. She claimed that she was against any form of welfare from the government, and she took Social Security. I guess she felt she was entitled to it. Um, yeah, I mean, this is how it works with these people. They give good advice, they give their shitty advice, and they tell everybody this crap. But I mean, life is not painful enough as it is. Now, this is not a boring video. I'm sorry I bored you with it, but you have to be able to sort these people out and get them out of your hair because they can be very destructive and overachievers. I don't know. They're sometimes just like I said before, these TV shows with these home improvement people that are experts at laying countertops, experts of automotive, experts at this. These are people way above the skill sets of most people in their respective professions, and because they probably don't have tolerance for people less than them. And it's sad, but it's the way it is. Okay, I'm done rambling here.